Hey everyone, Andy Raffel from eTeknix.com, and today I need a hero. So we're looking at the ASUS ROG Maximus XII Hero Wi-Fi. Let's do this. The ASUS TUF RX 5600 XT, a match made in heaven for those who are serious about 1080p gaming, incorporating advanced fan technology to improve airflow and silence without compromise. Each card undergoes rigorous testing and 144-hour validation to make sure it still performs to its best, even when pushed to the limit. Click the link in the description to find out more. So before I get started with this video, I do need to sort of say that we are filming the video for this and all of the other boards that you will see on our YouTube channel and on eTeknix.com before actually testing. So we are going to have all the benchmarks. We're going to put it in at the end of the video, but because of timing issues, we needed to actually film everything before we tested it. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the Hero range of motherboards I really like. You seem to get quite a lot of features, some really nice styling without the hefty price tag that you'd have from, say, an Extreme board, which it is worth noting we have got the video on the Maximus XII Extreme as well. So if you fancy getting your wallet out, yeah, definitely go and check that video out. It's on youtube.com/eTeknix. So the Maximus XII Hero, what's so sort of great about it? Well, let's talk about pricing to start with. So it's going to be coming in at $399.99 and £429.99. It's about $100 cheaper than the Formula, and it is actually about $100 more expensive than its predecessor, the Maximus XI Hero Wi-Fi. So $100, what do we get extra above and beyond that? Obviously, we have got Z490. That does give us things like Wi-Fi 6, but surely that's not worth $100. Well, let's talk about the styling to start with. So styling-wise, it's an ATX motherboard, and in all honesty, it does look, well, gorgeous. Hero Wi-Fi boards always do. I mean, there's nothing really separating this from the Z390 equivalent, which is a little bit, I guess, disappointing. They have beefed up a few certain areas and maybe added a few more premium materials. So you will notice over the PCH chipset, it's got this nice kind of piano black looking kind of area. You have got some, I guess, decent amount of RGB up on the rear I/O and then back down there as well. If you want to extend above and beyond that, then you have got the RGB headers on the board for normal as well as addressable. So talking about sort of CPU socket, you know, there's a decent amount of room around there. You aren't going to really struggle with ventilation over the VRMs and things like that because this has got quite a hefty VRM setup. It has 14+2 power stages with Digi Plus VRM. So you are going to get clean, stable power delivered exactly sort of where it needs to be. Now, all of the phases on here are 60 amps, so it's got a decent amount of power. If you need something above and beyond that, you've got the Extreme board, which has 90 amp phases, which is just, well, frankly, ridiculous. Comparing this to the Z390 sort of predecessor, it is a nice little step up. That had 8+2, and there was a massive sort of hoo-ha around that with, was it using doublers, was it not? This is kind of straight power, so you're not going to have any problems there. Delivering that power to the CPU socket, you have an 8-pin and a 4-pin. The 8-pin is a Pro-Cool tube connector, which is the worst name in the world, but it basically means it has solid pins, it has the shielding around there, and you are going to get the kind of best connection from your power supply. Now, with that amount of power, you are going to need a decent amount of cooling. So it has a heatsink at the top, heatsink down the side, and then one at the bottom. And the one at the bottom is actually an extended heatsink. Now, what that actually means is that it has a heat pipe running all the way through, down and into that, but not all the way to the end. Apparently, based on the R&D and everything that ASUS have done, that means that you are actually going to be able to sort of get better temperatures over the VRMs. It's not going to be anything kind of too crazy. There is also sort of a large heatsink area over your M.2 slots, of which there are 3 on this board, but we will talk about them in a little bit. Now, if that's not enough cooling for you though, there is a nice little added accessory in the box. It comes with a little fan. I mean, it's a really cute fan, and it comes with a little bracket so that you can sort of install it up in this part of the board. I don't think it's going to be too noisy, but potentially due to the size of it, it could get quite kind of whiny over time if you were using it all the time. For the average consumer, I don't even think you're going to need to install it, but if you are planning to perhaps try and push this to the limits and put more voltage through the CPU, through sort of the VRMs and things like that, maybe it's just going to help you potentially get some better scores in them glorious benchmarks. In terms of memory support, it has 4 DIMM slots, which supports up to 128 gig of 4800 MHz memory, and also includes OptiMem, which apparently is said to help with stability and also reduce latencies. For your storage needs, there's 6 SATA ports. Nothing really too out of the ordinary there when comparing this against other kind of boards in this price range. For your M.2s, there's 3, and they are all completely covered by M.2 heatsinks. Now, something that I do want to mention with that, and this actually stems over to the expansion slots as well, is the fact that ASUS aren't claiming that this has PCI Express 4.0 capabilities. And the reason that they're not claiming it like other brands, MSI and Gigabyte, is that they have no way of validating it. There's no Rocket Lake CPUs out there with the PCIe 4.0 technology, and Comet Lake S doesn't have PCI Express 4.0. So they don't want to sort of say that it has one thing, then when the CPUs come out, they find that it hasn't, they have to bring out a version 2, there's a big uproar, people would say that they lied to them, so they're playing it a little bit safe. Personally, it probably, in my opinion, has got PCI Express 4.0 capabilities. What I mean by that is the PCB will support it. The actual slots themselves has the ability to have that amount of bandwidth put through it. But I can understand where ASUS are coming from with it. In terms of other kind of features on the board, we do have a debug LED, we have a power button, we have a flex key button. For anyone who doesn't know what that is, it simply acts as a reset button, but you can change that to act as an aura sync button, so you can turn the RGB on and off. You can have it so that when you press that button, it takes you directly into the BIOS, especially handy if you're doing things like overclocking. Now, this board is a little bit more expensive than its predecessor, but for a very good reason. Down the bottom, it has a Thunderbolt connector. Basically, if you wanted to buy the ASUS Thunderbolt EX card, you could simply plunk it in, plug the cable in, and away you go. You have lightning, blistering fast speeds of up to 40 gigabit per second. So if you have a NAS with Thunderbolt or you have an external drive with Thunderbolt, that's going to be perfect for you for transferring data at a much, much quicker rate. Being a Hero motherboard, it doesn't skimp out on the audio. It has the ROG Supreme FX, which includes an op-amp as well as an ESS DAC. So you are going to get the very, very best kind of quality, clarity, whether that be on a microphone, through headsets, through speakers. It's going to sound simply amazing. Obviously, if you want to go above and beyond that, then ASUS do make some sound cards if you really need it. But for the average consumer and probably 99% of people who are going to buy this board, the onboard audio that's underneath this shielding is going to be perfect. And lastly, looking at the rear I/O, it's built into the board, which is a very, very nice touch. You'd expect it kind of, on a board at this price. It does have a BIOS flashback button with a dedicated USB port for it. It has a clear CMOS button. It has a HDMI if you're using this in conjunction with a processor that has an iGPU. It's got USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type C, Type A, Gen 1, 2.0. It has everything that you'd expect in terms of USB connectivity. Of course, being Z490, it does have the Intel Wi-Fi 6AX on there. It has our HD audio outputs as well, which are all gold-plated, and it also has optical SP diff. There's nothing really this board is missing. It has the Thunderbolt, it has the USBs, it has a decent amount of kind of power delivery to the CPU socket. So it's going to be interesting to kind of see how this actually performs, both at stock as well as overclock. So without kind of further ado, I guess I'm going to leave the video there and leave all the benchmarks and everything at the end. So definitely stick around for that. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. I know the Hero motherboards have been quite welcomed by the community when it comes to when they actually started developing these. And it's nice to see they haven't done too much, which is a little bit frustrating. I would have maybe preferred a little bit more, I don't know, some big bang kind of features for Z490, but maybe they do that on the next launch. Who knows? Let me know what you think in the comments section below, and I will see you in the next one. See you later, guys.